a moment to look at another big story today. TV presenter Ant McPartlin fined £86,000, given a 20-month driving ban after pleading guilty to drink driving. The 42-year-old has been banned for 20 months. He, of course, famously, and of course, being the 21st century, this stuff was caught on video. There is plenty doing the rounds on that, but he was found guilty, big fine and a ban. He spoke outside Wimbledon Magistrates Court earlier.
I just want to say I'm truly sorry for what happened. Higher standards are expected of me. I expect them of myself. I let myself down. I let a lot of people down. For that, I'm truly sorry.
That's him speaking outside court. He's truly sorry. Nick Freeman is a criminal defence lawyer, specialises in motoring offences. Nick, good evening to you. You've represented, of course, many high-profile people. But it's the first time I've seen a fine of this kind of magnitude, and certainly looking on social media, because it's obviously linked to earnings and the like. But many people were confused as to when this law came in that linked fines to one's financial capacity.
Yeah, the sentencing guidelines were revised in 2017, and the courts followed the guidelines in Ant's case, and the guidelines suggest if it's a reading between 60 and 89, his reading was 75, it's regarded as a Band C fine. And the Band C fine is, the starting point is 150% of your net income. Now, his net income is about £130,000 a week. Obviously, he's pleaded guilty at the earliest opportunity, so he will get a third discount. And the range, although the starting point is 150% of your net income, the range is 125 to 175%. So the judges worked it out and thought £86,000 is the mark that reflects his earnings and his guilty plea.
What would you be saying if you were his defence lawyer in this case?
Well, I haven't looked at the papers, and obviously one has to go through the procedures, but he's obviously wanted to plead guilty. He's wanted to accept his guilt, so I have no idea whether he had any defences, and if he did, whether he wished to argue them. I have to say, generally, I mean, he is extremely fortunate in that you referred to the video and the driving being seen. Why the prosecution and the police didn't charge him with dangerous driving, I really don't know. I mean, £86,000, in my view, it's a disproportionately high amount. And what's interesting about the fine is the fine for drink driving is uncapped, which means obviously there's no ceiling on it. Now, when you have, for example, speeding, and there's a cap fine, so for motorways it's £2,500. What the sentencing guidelines say is, in the case of very high earners, that the maximum cap, although it might be 150%, the maximum cap is 75% to keep it proportionate. But when it's uncapped, there is no percentage, right. So the percentage isn't reduced. And we have this ridiculous anomaly, in my view, whereby £86,000 for a drink driving case. The drink driving was twice the legal limit, just a little bit more than twice the legal limit. Per se, I think £86,000 is a disproportionately high amount, and that comes about because there is no cap. And in my view, that there's a lacuna, a legal hole, which needs to be filled, and there should be the same cap to deal with high earners. But on the same basis, the prosecution and the police need to charge correctly, and they haven't charged for the manner of driving. He was seen to straddle the lines, the broken lines. He then loses control going round the corner, and he hits two vehicles. Yeah. Now, the sentence doesn't really reflect that, and if he should have been charged with dangerous driving, and if he had, he then would have had to take, if he was convicted of it, an extended retest, his driving test, and it's an extended test. It's particularly hard to pass. As it happens, he's got I think it was a 20-month ban, which is in accordance with the guidelines, and he gets 25% off upon completion of the drink rehabilitation course. So he'll end up, if he does the course, with a 15-month ban. Yeah. So we're in this situation, one, because there's a legal lacuna, and secondly, because in my view, and he hasn't been charged as he should have been charged.
So in fact, it's about, you're interested really in reflective justice, as it were, and you feel the £86,000 is just legally inconsistent with other areas of the law.
It's too high, but the point is, it's not going to touch him, is it?
No, not at all.
If a man has a net take-home pay of £150 and he's fined £100, it kills him. For a man who's earning millions of pounds a year,
You got 25 million in the bank, 86,000 doesn't touch the side.
He's not even going to notice it's not there.
So it would have made more sense to go for another, to look at the other offence that you believe was committed, and that was dangerous driving.
Absolutely.
Nick Freeman, this is fascinating stuff. Thank you for that. We're going to look at another aspect of this a little later on, and we've discussed this with footballers who've been drunk behind the wheel of a car, and arguably with much more lethal consequences, but nonetheless there's a principle here that still stands. And when you take somebody like Ant McPartlin, I think probably like most of the country, I'm a bit of an Ant and Dec fan, who isn't, but can you allow somebody with a drink drive conviction back onto family-based television programming? Well, look